I was born into a Catholic family. I attended Mass every Sunday growing up. I learned about my faith in school. I attended youth events, but my faith was not the center of my priorities. It wasn't the basis of how I made my decisions, but there were a lot of values that I was taught as a Catholic that I did want carried into my future relationships. So at the end of high school, I had met a guy and we really liked each other, and we wanted to start a relationship. And I remember having a conversation with him. He wasn't Catholic, he wasn't even Christian, but I told him I wanted to be supported in my faith, and there were a lot of different standards that I had for our relationship because of that. And he agreed, but thinking back on that, he wouldn't have really known what he was agreeing to, because I wasn't holding my faith as the number one standard in my life or the number one priority. So it would have been really difficult for him to have a clear image as to what he was agreeing to. So, 3 or 4 months into our relationship, we were starting to have a lot of struggles when it came to just upholding the different standards of my faith and having him support me in them. And there were different aspects of that. Chastity was becoming a struggle. And this carried on for a little while. I really liked this guy. I didn't want to see him go. I didn't want to have to give him up. And so slowly but surely, I started giving up parts of myself and part of the standards that I had always had for my future relationships in order to keep our relationship stable and happy and everything. It wasn't long after that before my faith was just the lowest priority. I was putting my relationship before everything, and it was causing my personal life to crumble. I had a horrible relationship with my parents. I was lying about where I was. I had skipped Mass a couple times, and it was just not anything I had envisioned for my life. We were together for a long time, for 4 years, and the last 2 years of that was long distance. I was at college in Prince George and he was in Vancouver. And I remember at some point during the 4th year, I was just starting to reconnect with us being in a long distance relationship. I was able to step out of that relationship a little bit and reconnect with my youth community. I was going to events that had to do with the church, and I was reconnecting with this very beautiful church community that I had grown up with, and was missing it a lot. And this started to cause a lot of turmoil over whether or not I was actually even called to this relationship, and it was scary. And I just remember being very torn between my personal life and my relationship. And it got to a point where this was just constantly on my mind, and I didn't know at the time that it was God tugging at my heart. It came up to this event in 2016 called DYC. It's a youth conference that they hold in Prince George, and there's a part of the event where we offer reconciliation to all of the youth. I had looked at this part of the schedule and I realized that I hadn't been to confession in 4 years. The whole time I was in this relationship, I hadn't been to confession. And so before we allowed the youth to line up and go to reconciliation, I snuck in and asked one of the priests if he would hear my confession. He said yes. And I sat down and let it all out. Everything that I had given up about my faith, every little standard that I had let go of, all of the struggles with chastity that were happening in this relationship, I let it all out. And I started to cry. And it was the first time that I had really let it all go in a really long time. My eyes were closed. I was in the moment, just me and God kind of a thing. Yeah, my eyes were closed. I got to a point where I was just begging the Lord, if I'm not supposed to be in this relationship, just tell me. I'll leave him, I promise. And my eyes were closed and I wasn't looking up, and I don't know if it was the priest that said this or what, but I just heard this question come into my heart, and it was, Adelaide, is this love? And for the first time in a really long time, I had clarity. I was able to answer clearly and decisively, no, this is not love. What I'm experiencing right now with not wanting to leave the relationship, it's fear, but it's not love. And I left that confession completely filled with joy. I felt like someone had taken a huge weight right off of my shoulders. I went home that night, and as painful as it was, as scary as it was, I broke up with him. I ended the relationship. And next thing you know, I was single for the first time in 4 years. I had newly graduated college. I didn't know what laid ahead of me. It was terrifying. But the Lord didn't take one thing away from me without putting something in front of me. And He gave me this amazing community of friends who taught me what it meant to have a personal relationship with Jesus and to pursue that relationship, to pray every day and to lay my problems out before the Lord. Because looking back at my upbringing, I wasn't taught how to have a personal relationship with Jesus. I would sit up and do the normal prayers with my family, the rosary, the chaplet, all of that stuff, but I wasn't taught how to have a personal prayer life and how at the end of the day, God wants to hear about your day because he loves you. He knows how your day went, but he wants you to tell him about it because he loves you. And I think back and wonder, if I had been doing that every day in this relationship, would I have seen the pattern much earlier? Would I have known so much earlier that I wasn't called to this? Would I have questioned my worth so much? Would I have let go of so much of myself, standards that I never wanted to let go of? Would I have made those mistakes if I had been praying every single day? And the answer is no. And I know that I've learned and grown so much from the whole experience, as painful as it was. But if I can encourage you to do anything, it's to pray every single day. If you can, just 5 minutes. If you can just give him 5 minutes and tell him, Lord, today was really good and here's why, or today sucked and this is why. He wants to hear about it. And I guarantee you're going to have clarity. Maybe not right away, but if you're praying every single day, at some point you're going to have the clarity that you need and the guidance from him. You're not going to feel alone in everything that you're doing. And just like that moment when finally he came crashing through 4 years of no confession and 4 years of me being separated from him, he came crashing through to tell me, is this love? No, I love you. Come back to me. That's really what I want to encourage for you, is to pray, to open up your heart so that you can actually hear him, so that he can come crashing through to you. And it's not going to be easy. I'm still human. I lose my trust so much. I'm a planner. I want to know the answers. I want to know what's next. And when my world and my plans get rocked, I don't know what's next. And I have temper tantrums at God. But the point is, I do it at God, and he tells me, you're okay. I've got you.